The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
All right, Delph, we have to look at more lists. Now, let's get to the next one.
Sure, thanks, Santa.
Alright, this is the list from Wrestling to the Max. These boys are pretty well, and I think they're pretty nice and not on the naughty list. Let's see here. Let's see. Little Sean wants an Emelina experience. What is an Emelina experience?
Well, Santa, I have a picture on my phone. Here you go.
Oh, I don't think I can provide that. I would like to, but, let's send Sean a gift certificate to my friend Emery. He's a masseuse, and he has really soft hands. That should be close enough, hopefully. Let's see, Paul wants a gift certificate or a year pass to Chikara. What is Chikara? Is that a Mexican food restaurant? Well, I think we can do one for him. Send him a gift certificate to Chipotle. I think that's close enough. Next on the list is Little Gary. And boy, is he a little weirdo.
How you doing?
One little strange fellow.
How you doing?
One odd mother.
Oh, Santa, you can't say that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Santa just hasn't had enough cookies lately. Anyway, he's asking for a broken Matt Hardy doll here. Oh, I'm so sorry. We're all out. All the elves made the last ones yesterday, and we just sent them out. But I've got a better idea for little Gary. Maybe we go back in the bin from 1999 and give him one of those old Matt Hardy figures. Just have Donna and Blitzum crush him under the hooves, and then you go. Sit it in a box. That'll be one broken Christmas for little Gary.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the max.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leeser.
Merry Christmas and welcome to Wrestling to the Max, episode 226, part 2. And today we've got lots of news topics to jump into, like TNA getting their own app in the UK and, of course, the rest of Europe. You're going to want to hear about that. Very interesting. Plus, we're going to talk NXT airing 2-hour episodes for the next 2 weeks. That is going to be great because you'll actually get a chance to see some stuff that you actually saw a little shortened parts of, so you'll actually get to see the full content. Plus, we're also going to talk some New Japan. Yeah, that's right. Their president actually thinks WWE has some faults. So we're going to talk about a lot of those topics, plus a lot more. You're not going to want to miss a beat on any of those. Plus, we're also going to jump into some NXT talk, and along with some TNA Impact not being around, we're just going to have to kind of skip that and the Lucha Underground. So really, honestly, all we have is NXT, but that's okay. We'll get into some other things, and it'll be a lot of fun. So we'll talk about that more when we get to it, though, guys. Of course, I'm your host, Gary Vaughn, and tonight with me is Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up, everybody?
And sadly, Paul Leeser is not here tonight, and that's a bummer. Of course, we are coming to you a night later than we usually do. Some communication issues, plus the fact that the holidays have really made our lives difficult with work and with a lot of other things. So we kind of had to push the podcast off to the night after. And so saying that, that also kind of messed up Paul because Paul has his own life. He's doing a lot of other things, and I'm pretty sure he's nice and tucked in his bed right now. So I don't blame him at all. You got to do that, especially at midnight. You got to crash, and it's a lot later for me and Sean right now. So, needless to say, it does suck that he's not a part of this episode, but we do have some great things that are a part of this show that we're going to talk about, and we're going to let Paul probably get on next Tuesday morning and give you his thoughts on some of the things we're going to talk about tonight. So don't worry. If you want to hear what Paul has to say, we're going to give him the floor and allow him to give you all his thoughts on some of the things we're talking about tonight, like the Christmas wish list that we always have every year. And we're going to do ours, me and Sean, and of course Paul does later, but we have that part of the show as well. So it's going to be cool, Sean. I mean, I'm looking forward to doing this wish list and, the rest of this show. How's everything going? I mean, this is Christmas, man. It's amazing it's already here. How's everything going so far with you?
Well, tomorrow, later today, I got to work during the day for Christmas Eve. And then luckily the one day that Kmart is closed is Christmas Day, so get to have that day off and spend it with Anaya and get to open presents with her. Just work. Then what sucks is after you get past Sunday, they start really killing your hours, and I'll be sitting there talking about how I'm not working. Well, a lot. That's probably what I'm going to be talking about.
Oh, boy.
But, we're getting into end of year stuff with the website, so we're going to be doing our top 50 matches of 2016. The staff is getting that ready, so that's going to be our end-of-year stuff for, the wrestling. We did our top 25 games of 2016 that's going to be rolling out this week as well. So lots of stuff to get going on that. And then just right around the corner, we'll be talking about 2017, and Wrestle Kingdom will be coming up. So, to start the year off again.
Wow. See, I mean, it's amazing all this is right here at us. And, it's going to be a lot of fun. You were talking about the end of the year stuff. It's going to be fun kind of getting our ideas on what we believe is the best matches. Of course, we'll have our Superstar of the Year and a lot of our other, categories that we cover.
Yeah, next year will be not next year. Next week will be our awards on the podcast. So
yeah, it's going to be so much fun. I cannot wait. So there's lots of stuff with that. I love Christmas time, and it's one of those special times because, me and you have kids, and we get the chance to live that whole experience that we used to enjoy as children of, Santa Claus and all the cookies and milk and the presents. And so that's always fun, and it's the best part. And despite all that, we have to deal with the craziness of work and all the other stuff. So this is an odd time of the year. And of course, a lot of people are trying to find their way, and we hopefully are going to make their way a lot nicer tonight. If you're listening to us in your car, or wherever you're at, hopefully we can give you some entertainment while you're standing in line, or maybe you're just trying to relax a little bit, so this is going to be fun, though. I want to go ahead and, let everybody know. If you want to find more content from us, you need to go check out W2Mnet.com. That's right. W2Mnet.com is the place you go find all the written material from the W2M network. It's going to give you all the full exclusives from our staff, plus, of course, some wrestling news will be on there with columns. Of course, you'll also get reviews. And trust me, I mean, there's plenty of stuff as well besides wrestling. There's also a video game section that is really awesome. If you're, maybe shopping late and you really need some gifts, or maybe you give gifts after Christmas, maybe there's some people that, you can't exchange during Christmas and you still need to get a gift. Go there and check out the video game section. They give you all sorts of ideas of what games are great. And, nowadays everybody loves games. So go check out that, plus some other great stuff on W2Mnet.com. And, of course, the W2M Network. If you haven't subscribed, go do that now. It gives you all our podcasts and, of course, all the other shows that are a part of this network. You don't want to miss a minute, so go check all that out. Enough of the plug-in, though. Sean, let's go ahead and do this. Let's hop into quick hits. And so we'll be right back with that next.
Let's do it.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
Let's start this thing off by talking some TNA Impact Wrestling. And why I want to do that is because we've heard, and we've talked about this on the show before, in the UK, TNA is no longer available. If you live in the UK and you live anywhere in Europe, you've got to find it through the internet or go and try to find other ways to get a hold of your Impact needs. And now they're going to have a special app from TNA that'll be available, and you just have to pay, I believe it's $2.50. I know it's £5, but in America, if you were to want to purchase this, I think it's like $2.50, $3, something in that range a month. And this is cool, Sean, because the fact that people that don't get it, that really do want it in the UK or other places, it's also, not just Impact. It's also got some of their post-show stuff. Of course, their one-night onlys. And so you get kind of their full TNA experience all in one app. I think this is a great thing for them. I'm really curious how successful it's going to be. But I think it's a good idea.
Oh, I think definitely it is a terrific idea. Getting with the times, honestly, TNA here. Understanding that you lost the TV in the UK market, and a way to get it back is to have something very accessible, £5 over there in the UK, possibly also coming to Australia in the future, but it's January 5th, so right around the corner, you'll get that, and I think that's just great for them, right? Like you need this kind of thing to show that you're growing and developing. And maybe it'll come here with perhaps like the same kind of delay that WWE has with Raw and SmackDown shows showing up on the network. Maybe you will have that option, and maybe, Impact will be on like a 2-week delay or something like that. I mean, I get that, you don't probably want there to be less people even watching your show on Pop TV. But to me, at this point, you do have more people that are still enjoying shows, whether it's through Hulu, whether it's through, the network, whether it's through other means on YouTube even. You need to give people options to be able to enjoy your show nowadays. And hopefully it comes to the US. I don't think it probably will. But they do have that option if Pop TV decides, okay, well, we're going to drop you. Instead of going crazy trying to find that TV deal, maybe you just do it all on the app.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're already niche as it is, right? I mean, like, Total Nonstop Deletion didn't do much for them as far as ratings go. If that didn't do anything, I don't know what is.
Exactly. And the Broken Matt Hardy and, of course, Brother Nero, all that stuff in a package has really kept TNA going for a strong part of what you would say would be the smart fans of wrestling. I mean, they love that. Other than that, there's not been a whole lot to hang your hat on. They've had some good shows this year. I'm not going to lie and say I haven't enjoyed myself sometimes watching Impact, besides the stuff that Broken Matt Hardy does. But as of late, it has kind of started to slip again. And it's been a situation where now when I watch Impact, I'm not really thrilled about watching anything else. Now I just kind of want to watch the Broken Matt Hardy stuff. And that's not a good thing. And so I think that TNA has to make sure that they stay available to the markets that no longer carry them. And this is a good deal. They're actually being current now with having an app, because all these different networks, including Fox, NBC, everybody now has an app. And everybody now has their services streaming for you. That way that you don't have to go too far to find them. And I think this is a really positive thing in the end. You're right. This is a niche thing. This is very much like a Flow Sports situation. We talk about them week in and week out because they keep adding shows, all these indie promotions. And Impact, in a way, is kind of an indie promotion, but just with the availability of having, maybe a little bit better production when it comes to TV.
Well, and now they got that big influx of money. So.
Yeah, well, and their TV should be getting better with that influx of money. I don't know if it will, but they should do it better. So, What is this app actually called? Do they actually have a name
It's
for
like
this?
All Access TNA or something like that.
All Access TNA? Okay. So, I mean, needless to say, if you do like the Impact, or maybe, you do want to see what's going on, go check it out. I mean, there are still some great wrestlers on this roster. There's still some good things going for Impact. I just hope it gets better. That way that app does go off and people do actually, make it worth their time and not just kind of let this app die quickly. So, but it's interesting, and I think also you're seeing this in other realms. Like I talked about, Flow Sports, WWE has the WWE Network. New Japan has their own streaming service. What's interesting about New Japan is their president Kidani has actually kind of voiced his opinions about the WWE himself, and he's actually talked about TV and how it's kind of a thing that's in the past because, well, guess why? All these other services are becoming the new in, and TV is the new out. It's not so much the end product for people wanting to watch, television. Now, everybody now has Hulu. Everybody has Netflix. Everybody's finding other ways to watch shows compared to watching what cable TV used to be. And Kidani says that WWE puts all their eggs in the TV basket, and that's going to hurt them in the long run. He also kind of feels like wrestling is going to go back to the live attendance being what earns your money. And he has a few other things to say, but from what you have heard, what Kidani has said, what do you think about this, Sean? Do you agree with everything he's saying here?
I mean, obviously WWE does have a lot invested in their TV rights fees, right? Like, this is how they've increased their revenue, even when they've spent more money with the network, and the network is profitable, but it's not profitable as much as it could be because, sorry, I just shut my door here, but to realize that I left my door open and people are hearing me yell at 4:30 in the morning. That's not always good. But they're awake wrapping presents and stuff because, for us Latinos, a lot of Latin people celebrate Christmas on the 24th. You wait till, basically you're still doing it on the 25th because you're waiting until midnight on the 24th. But you celebrate everything on the 24th. You don't wait till the next morning on the 25th like Americans do.
Oh, okay.
So I'm still doing it this way with Anaya, but going to my uncle's house and all that, they're still doing the 24th. So anyway, that's why people are still awake, but I feel like I'm being rude, having my door open and just yelling. But anyway, the point here is that, WWE obviously has a lot invested in their TV rights fees, right? And so we didn't talk about this, but USA Network, once again, number one, 2016, the number one cable network. And their top two shows, Raw and SmackDown Live. So that's the thing, is we have to look at this in that WWE's rights fees keep increasing every year. If, let's say, these next few years, those top two spots are still taken by WWE, even if their ratings are lower, could this mean that Kidani is wrong and USA Network gives them more money gives WWE more money because they're still their top brand networks? We got to remember, when this when they got the new contract, USA Network had really good TV shows going on at that point. They felt that they didn't have to give WWE that much money. WWE was looking for way much more money. Remember this. They were looking for NASCAR, big sports deal type money. Mm-hmm. They didn't get that, and part of the reason was not only ratings, but part of it was also because USA Network felt, hey, we have TV shows that are doing great stuff for us. We don't have to rely so much on WWE. Well, what has happened in that time? They lost those shows, or those shows, got so old that they had to just end them, and they have not been able to really come back with anything. I think Suits is still going on for them, but aside from that, like, you don't hear about USA Network having these great shows anymore. So once again, they're relying on wrestling. And so now, like, the brand split has really made this, like, where they've had to rely a ton on wrestling. I don't know what the landscape is going to be for in 2 years, but see, the thing is what you just talked about, Gary. Everybody is now relying on other ways to get the programming, right? And that's only going to increase in 2 years. And this is what Kidani is talking about, that the reason why the network exists is because WWE knows that this is what cable is going to do. So Kidani feels that in 3 to 5 years, we're going to see a big implosion of the way of cable. We're going to see a big implosion of the American TV market. Of it's finally going to hit home. The people that are cutting the cord, we're gonna really start seeing that dent in the people that are cutting the cord by then, and that it's going to affect WWE negatively. And that's the thing too. Like, what have we been hearing about the NFL dropping ratings and ESPN losing subscribers constantly and all this stuff. Like, all these sports channels are now starting. People that thought they were invincible are now starting to feel the pain. So if sports is starting to feel it, like, the NFL's on Twitter now. You can watch it on Twitter for free. Like, so, or at least the Thursday night games.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think that's a step in even the NFL recognizing that, oh, we might have to get with the program here. And Kidani, I don't think, is wrong in that way, in that WWE does rely on the TV rights fees, and if they didn't have those TV rights fees, they'd be in some trouble as far as having a lot of costs for the network and not getting a lot back. So perhaps he is right that when that next contract comes up, they might see some negative things happen there.
Yeah, and I totally get that. I mean, for all the reasons you just pointed out. The one thing I will say, and this is interesting to me, is the fact that he brings up the live attendance being the future, being going back to in time, but yet it being the future of what wrestling promotions are going to make their money off of. And I understand that for smaller organizations, especially indie federations, where they're going to have streaming services, but they're not going to probably make a ton of money off a streaming service. Whereas, maybe their live attendance numbers are going to be better because people, want to go see those shows live. It's better live. But when you're talking about groups like New Japan themselves, along with WWE, Ring of Honor, I think people don't mind it. I think people would appreciate what the streaming service has to offer and the content that it's there they feel like is worth their money. I'm not so sure that the live attendance thing is going to go back to I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I think what he's referring to is that the reason why WWE has the WWE UK thing,
Mm-hmm.
and he also fears that WWE might go into Asia, into Japan probably, because I don't see, China's not sitting there with a bunch of wrestling promotions right now. So when he says Asia, he just means Japan. So, and he also expresses that he thinks maybe WWE will buy a Japanese promotion. That is possible, considering that there are certain Japanese promotions that are not doing so well, namely like Wrestle One or something like that WWE could buy, or just probably will partner with or something like that, and say, okay, well, this is our Japanese partner promotion. Let's start running it like the UK one or whatever. And what we heard is that the object of the UK thing is for it to have its own weekly show, maybe not even on the network, maybe just on TV there, and using that talent that they've signed, and they're going to keep trying to sign more. And that's what Kidani's referring to, is that they're going to have to start building territories in other places because, okay, well, your contracts with your TV are not going to be able to, be the only thing that holds you together. So you're going to need this live event business, this business that you spend money on these tapings and also get money back from the live gate is going to be what's sustaining you more than these right fees for being on in the UK, being on in the US, and all that. Because that's what New Japan already survives on right now. Is, yes, they have that contract with Access TV, and that's a nice amount of money, but they don't have that TV. They have the TV aside thing, but it's not the lucrative thing that WWE has with USA Network and all that. It's nowhere near that. So they are currently right now relying on live event attendance and merchandise and all that stuff, and they're feeling like WWE will have to go back to that too when the TV thing implodes. And he might be right. If those TV right fees don't get any higher, or perhaps they go even lower, does that start restricting their costs on the network, and therefore they're going to feel like, okay, well, we're going to have to run more shows. And, well, then guess what? You also have costs when you run more shows, too, right? So is that going to affect NXT? Like, does NXT start feeling the burn a little bit? Because they don't have as much money to go around to be burning on NXT touring. So, or do they feel like they have to tour more with NXT? You know, that's another thing. But yeah, when he's referring to that, he mean, and even with the UK thing, Gary, is now they're going to run 10 more shows in the UK than they did last year because of having the WWE UK thing now. So, which means some of them are going to be TV tapings and all that. So that right there shows you they're feeling like, you know, the live event stuff might have to be more of a priority.
Yeah, and I can understand. I really can. And, you know, it's one of those where you look at it and you say, you know, this is where, you know, people are going to be invested and, you know, what can keep us relevant. And that's why WWE's doing what they're doing. That's why New Japan's trying to make sure that they protect themselves and they find out some things that, you know, they feel like will be, you know, helpful to their future. You know, Kidani even says, and, you know, when he's talking, that he actually, you know, has some announcements that they're going to come out with, and they're going to be good situations for them. So I think there's lots to look forward to with New Japan, and I think that they're going to compete. I mean, they really are, and they're, you know, just kind of basically saying, hey, WWE, you know, you're on our radar. Just want you to know that we understand what you're doing, but, you know, we feel like we have our ways to match you. So. Well, you know, talking about that, you know, we have some other interesting things with, you know, Japanese wrestling. I
did think that it was interesting that he said that we're getting to a point where you're either with WWE or you're against WWE. So I wonder if this whole thing with him trying to make it in the U.S. as far as having the shows and all that kind of means sort of like him declaring war on, hey, we're not going to let you treat us like we're one of those guys that are going to be with you or whatever. We want to stand out. We want to be taken seriously as equal to you. And if there is a company out there that could perhaps do that, I don't know. You know, we're going to have to see how these New Japan only shows would be received first. But if there's a company out there that has the money that could possibly, I don't want to say compete on the same level, but perhaps rise to something somewhat similar, it would be New Japan. Other than, you know, Sinclair ever decided, okay, we're just going to put all our eggs in the ROH basket and just, you know, spend all the money we possibly can, which I just don't see happening. Sinclair seems to be just fine with how ROH is. It would be New Japan, so, you know, and Kidani loves WWE. He wants New Japan to be big like WWE. This is really interesting as far as what this all means. And we're going to know really soon, because around Wrestle Kingdom time is when they had that big business meeting and they showed on New Japan World. And we'll get to see sort of what Kidani has planned for this next year. And we'll see how far they're willing to go with this thing with kind of trying to go against WWE.
Yeah, definitely. And, we'll keep everybody posted on that. It's going to be kind of interesting.
And I think for you, Gary, the cool thing is, I don't know, we talked about this, but it seems like with that Access TV show, they might be deciding to just scrap the being behind so much and trying to be a little bit more up to date with that Access TV show. And, they're already going to air this year's Wrestle Kingdom in 4 parts over 4 weeks, like starting the week after Wrestle Kingdom airs. So, that's a show that, I don't know if you get Access TV with your cable, but it's a way for you to be able to experience New Japan better because they have subtitles there. You can read the promos, and just you can watch the match with JR on commentary.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think it's great.
better.
Yeah, definitely, and it's something that I think is a real positive. And if you don't mind, with the time sensitivity that it's going to take 4 weeks to get through, I think it's awesome. And, most people don't have to worry about that. We do, because we're very time sensitive, but I agree. It's something that I can sit back and just enjoy because of the fact that I can, watch JR and go to those matches and just be fun. So, and of course, I'll get a chance to see, Ishii and Yano be a part of that big IWGP tag title match coming up, and that'll be a 10-way dance or something. It was a 3-way dance, excuse me.
Yeah, they made it into a triple threat now instead of just the 2-on-2, which is interesting. Just because this is an IWGP tag title match, and normally the heavyweights don't get put in these kind of matches. But I'm glad that Ishii has something he's actually doing that's sort of important now instead of just being in that schmoz gauntlet match. And bringing back Yano is also interesting. He was a tag team champion with Marufuji for a while during last year, for a better part of last year. Even in the G1, he had those tag titles. So Yano, no stranger to having tag titles, and I wonder if they're going to be the favorites now to win those belts. That's going to be interesting. I'd love to see Ishii have a belt at least for all the trouble he gets in. But this is going to be fun watching those two because Ishii is really no nonsense and Yano is total comedy.
Yeah. That is going to be fun. I'm sorry, but it's just going to be hilarious to see how that whole thing works out. I love, Yano is just a great comedy wrestler. He really is. We talked about that, those guys joining. Paul talked about that, I think, on Tuesday. And something else Paul talked about on Tuesday was the fact that Lucha Underground Season 4 is going to have 60 episodes that they're going to be filming. And that's going to help them, of course, financially.
Jesus Christ, 60 episodes?
60 episodes. That's just to save money.
That's more than 1 year.
I know.
It's like...
Oof. It's crazy. And you know what? There's a thing that we're hearing, and maybe because of that and some other things, but there's apparently some low morale over there in Lucha Underground. Because Season 4 is not even going to start being filmed until about October. And that, that's a long time to wait, So, I mean, what do you think about this? This is kind of crazy to me that they're going to wait that long. October 2017. And that means that a lot of those contracts that they have extends their, all the way till that time when people can't do other things.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is that, these guys, they sign these 7-season contracts, and I think some of them kind of want to feel like they're free to do other things. And so they're locked in here for another, I want to say 6 months of that contract now because they thought they were starting to tape earlier. Like we're talking, by early 2017, like February or March at the latest. And now we're talking about way later in the year. And you're going to run 60 episodes? Like, my God. Then you're talking about almost the middle of 2018 probably before you can even air those episodes, and then you still got 3 more seasons that these guys and girls are signed for. So I can totally understand on their point of view if they really don't want to have to feel like they're exclusive to Lucha Underground or they can't do anything, then yeah, that's totally plausible. But waiting that long into 2017, that's a lot. So, I think, obviously, I think they said something about this season's probably going to end in April or May. So if they're not starting till October to film season 4, then, that's going to be a while before we see season 4 start actually airing. So there will be a nice little break there.
Yeah.
Which I thought the whole point was for them not to have a break this time.
That made me really confused as well, because I thought that they were wanting to be continuous and really not have to put the wrestlers there because they filmed so many at, such a short length of time that they could take breaks but not air it as in breaks, And waiting once again for a long period of time, that just makes people kind of forget about you sometimes. And that's just not good. So I have concerns about this, and with there not being very high morale, man, that could also make that roster suffer, and that's not good, especially for a growing company. I hope that, they can find a way to appease everybody, but this is going to be difficult. And, it's tough. It's tough dealing with contracts for promotions. It really is. Like, we've heard about Michael Elgin. He wants to do his own thing, and he pretty much is done with Ring of Honor. He's going to just go on and stay with New Japan and make his decisions from there. And I'm not sure Ring of Honor really wanted that to happen, but that's the way it is. You got Drew Galloway. His contract is coming up soon. So you've got some guys out there that are about to become free agents or, chose not to stick with the promotions. It's difficult for Lucha Underground and everybody else to kind of keep on to their stars.
Yeah, certainly. That's the thing. We already have with Ricochet took that option to get out and go to WWE, or that's what we think, because he's sitting there going, okay, well, they're offering me this. If I re-sign, then I'm stuck here for 4 more years, where I can only do New Japan or some indies, and that kind of weighs on you after a while, especially the way WWE is about wanting talent right now. You kind of have to make the decision of, okay, well, do I sign with this other company or do I go to WWE? And that's the thing that, now rumors are going around that Kyle O'Reilly might be going after we thought that he's for sure re-signing with ROH, especially since he's a champion. So, that's somebody that I really never thought we were going to get going to WWE. I thought he was always going to be an ROH guy, especially with how much New Japan loves him.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I said, oh, wow, I can't believe this rumor is actually out there and it's actually kind of gaining steam. So, this is interesting. And I think that's the thing, too, is, you've got guys like the Young Bucks who think they're fine being on the indies and getting paid some big money to sign with ROH and work New Japan dates and whatever and not go to WWE. But there's other guys that feel like, I kind of want to take my shot and let's see what happens,
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. You've got to have, some reasons for, these guys to want to stick around. And that's the tough part about it is unless you have some huge incentives or you have an audience or money, it's going to be hard to keep those guys around. And I get Michael Elgin. I would even understand Drew Galloway leaving TNA, even though it would really be a bummer for TNA. And I think, it would be for those guys' best interest. It's not really for the promotions, and that's the way it should be. So I just think it's very interesting. Even the fact that we have that situation that could be taking place with, the current situation with Ring of Honor's champion. So, I mean, I think Kyle O'Reilly being a guy that is a staple for Ring of Honor, and to have him leave Ring of Honor would be a huge shock in a way, because I just never would have saw him leaving Ring of Honor, and now that's a big possibility. And once again, a guy that's got to choose money, got to choose the audience he can be in front of. All those different things come up and come into play. So it's very interesting. Very interesting to see the way it's all kind of shaking out, and we could be seeing even newer rosters before you know it. But besides that, we also have some other news and wrestlers moving around. We have El Patron, well, of course, if you know him as Alberto Del Rio. He's going back to AAA. And Sean, I kind of thought he burned bridges in AAA. I'm kind of surprised to hear he's going to be going back.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's not like he doesn't have other options. Like, he could have gone to CMLL and, worked Lucha Elite, too, if you wanted. But, AAA obviously pays the most money, and that's what Alberto Patron cares about. He cares about the money. He doesn't really care about where he's wrestling or whatever. Alberto Patron wants money. He asks for a lot of money. He's going to get paid a lot of money. He knows what kind of star he is. He's confident in himself. The dude's going to work AAA. Let's see if he winds up at Lucha Underground. I almost kind of hope not. Just stick to AAA. But it kind of doesn't surprise me, really. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me either. A guy like that, kind of goes by his own way, and, I guess AAA, is, willing to do what they can, and they need a guy like that. So there you go. I think that pretty much wraps up Quick Hits. We've had a lot of big news to talk about. And so, of course, we'll probably be touching on a few of those things.
Oh, well,
go ahead.
One thing here with Drew Galloway, his contract expiring in February. We know how WWE is about signing people. Drew Galloway's reason for not re-signing with TNA is that he didn't want to sign an exclusive contract where they could rule over his dates. Obviously, WWE would get that same kind of deal too. Do you think WWE would kind of go after him, maybe for that UK show? Or, you think maybe in New Japan, or, New Japan really likes to have ex-WWE mid-card guys at this point. They made a big deal about Cody Rhodes, and they had Billy Gunn up there. I mean, Drew Galloway's a pretty good wrestler, so,
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And that both of those are great options, if you ask me personally. And I would love to see him be a part of the UK thing, because I think that adds star power, just kind of like Tajiri added to the Cruiserweights, right? He's the legend. He's a guy that, oh, wow, Tajiri's back? Where's he at? Oh, wow, he's on the network? I got to go check this out. That's cool. And I think that's a situation where Drew Galloway would also be a big part of that. Now, on the other hand, I think it would be maybe in Drew Galloway's best interest also to hop on over and go to New Japan, because of the fact that, there's a huge audience in Japan that would probably love him and probably really seek him out and make him a bigger star than what WWE would. So it's a tough situation, because you choose one that could possibly get you back inside the WWE where you're going to make tons of money, or you're going to go back to a situation like New Japan where you're going to make good money, but you're not reaching the world like you would if you were in WWE. So it's kind of a catch-22. It really is. So. But I'm really kind of curious how he's going to handle this and what he's going to do. I really am, because he's a really big talent, and he would add to anybody's roster. So.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I just wonder if he would want to go back to WWE. Of course, obviously, they're much more serious about wrestling, and just with all the talent they're signing now, a different deal than when Drew Galloway was there. Mm-hmm. I wonder if he would go, but I think a place like New Japan wouldn't be too bad for him, or just stay working the indies like you have been. You've been doing fine doing that as well.
Yeah, very true. So, All right. Well, that is quick hits for us, everyone. We are going to move on, and we are going to talk NXT next. And just to let you know, we are also going to be talking our Christmas wish list for 2017. So we've got some interesting things still to talk about on the show. We'll be right back with NXT, though, next.
WWE Developmental NXT.
All right, so NXT. Well, we learned one thing this week is that NXT will not be doing best of shows the next 2 weeks because they're going to be airing two-hour episodes of the house show from Japan. So we'll get the full match of Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe along with some other matches. And of course, we'll also get the full Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe cage match from Australia along with other matches as well. So looks like we don't get a break from NXT, Gary, but cool that we get to watch these house shows.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, those house shows are going to be a lot of fun because of the fact that, like you said, we get the full content that were originally there. That's what's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to get a chance to really get into see what WWE does overseas too, because we really don't get a chance to look at that and see how they present their product. I mean, I'm sure it's not much different, but on the other hand, you get the full experience. You kind of feel like you're there. So that's what I'm thrilled about. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, certainly. I think this is going to be two fun shows to watch and fun to talk about as well on the podcast when we get to talk about them. So NXT, of course, this is the last new NXT for the year. You get Billie Kay taking on Daria Baronato. Of course, Daria, the MMA-inspired woman for the NXT ladies. I think she could be really something at some point because people really like that whole legit attitude, that legit feeling that you get of, okay, that girl can kick your ass. People like that. I think Baron Corbin's starting to get somewhere with that kind of attitude. And I think people are starting to sort of like Braun Strowman as well because he's kind of been that way. I think Daria can do that for the women. She's obviously still got a long way to go as far as the wrestling in-ring goes. But I think the character, she could certainly get that down. Lots of cheating here with Peyton Royce being involved on the outside a lot, allowing kind of Billie Kay to get the win. And Billie Kay and Peyton Royce called out Asuka afterwards, saying that they should be getting the title shot.
Definitely. And, this is something that's kind of interesting to me because of the way that they come about things and the way this whole situation is run for them. I like, the Mean Girls thing that they got going because it's kind of fun to kind of see that, you got two people that really mesh well and kind of go against the grain. And now you've got, the whole situation in the other part of this division with Asuka and, I'm forgetting her name, Cross.
Nikki Cross, yeah.
Nikki Cross. I think that's also a fun thing. So I think right now, overall, they've got a good thing going. And they're telling some actual interesting stories. And this is a good thing, especially, you post Bayley, post Sasha Banks, Charlotte, all that. You're actually starting to see these talents starting to rise up and, put their foothold in this whole show and making this division matter. So I'm liking the way that they got these storylines going. I think I'm more interested in the, Asuka situation because that's kind of creepy because you got two creepy people creeping on each other. The Billie Kay thing it's fine. There's no problem with them doing their thing, but it's just to me is not as interesting. It's good, but I kind of have one preference over the other.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I really want to see Nikki Cross and Asuka, so hopefully they keep it that way going into the NXT TakeOver San Antonio. I think Nikki Cross Asuka could be a freaking great match. They're going to be stiff with each other as well. The Authors of Pain whooped some jobbers, almost killed one of them. Literally almost killed one of them. And Paul Ellering says that they're just going to seek and destroy. Whatever. No big deal there. Asuka also smiles at Nikki Cross as she comments on the whole Peyton Royce and Billie Kay thing. And Nikki Cross is kind of watching her and laughs. So, some nice little character stuff there. Not a whole lot.
It's not a whole lot, but it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of creepy. It's kind of hilarious at the same time.
Yeah, her insanity is a great thing because this kind of lets her have that character that's interesting and different from other people, from the other women on the roster too, which is important. You want to be different. Makes you stand out more. So the big match is the number one contenders elimination match between Andrade Cien Almas, Bobby Roode, Roderick Strong, and Ty Dillinger. This goes about 10 minutes before we get our first elimination. Some good stuff back and forth here as you get Roderick Strong hitting the sick kick out of nowhere to eliminate Andrade Cien Almas. Then Ty Dillinger hits a tiebreaker on Roderick Strong at almost about 2 minutes later to eliminate Roderick Strong. Then, of course, it's Ty Dillinger and Bobby Roode going at it for the end as when they both stare at each other, the crowd starts chanting, "This is awesome," which that lets you know how into both of these guys they are. Bobby Roode even gets a chair at one point, tries to hit Ty with it. Ty hits the tiebreaker, but Roode gets the kick out. And Roode eventually wins with his DDT. Frickin' really good match here. Something you should go check out. I really enjoyed this. And, yeah, some interesting stuff here. But we kind of knew Bobby Roode was going to win.
Yeah, we did. And, Bobby Roode's that guy that, it's an obvious situation. But at the same time, I think they did a great job selling the fact that, he may not. And to me, that's very, very important here. You've had the underdog story going on, and you keep people, hear people root for the perfect 10, and they want him to do well, and then the next thing you know, Bobby Roode dashes your dreams. And so, I mean, as much as we knew it was going to happen,
that Bobby Roode.
I know, freaking jerk, thinks he's so great. Anyway. But, I mean, what a great match. I mean, this was a really solid match all the way around. I was kind of surprised that Almas was maybe the first one out, which is understandable. Roderick Strong hasn't been there as long, and I kind of thought maybe some way, somehow, he'd be the first one out, which I'm okay with him not being. But that was a little bit of a surprise. But at the end of the day, we knew what was going to happen, and that's fine. It works.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised, too. That they didn't take that opportunity to kind of go with Cien Almas, who's been there a little bit longer. But I think as far as Ty and Roode kind of getting to renew the rivalry, that makes total sense. Roode beating him again to solidify his shot. Totally down with that, and I like what they did this year. So that's your NXT.
Yeah, NXT, once again, is going to have some big shows coming up next week, so don't want to miss those. We'll have a lot of fun doing those. But, we are going to move on from here, and we've got to talk Christmas Christmas wish list. And so let's go ahead and jump into that, Sean. Let's go ahead and do that now, and let's kind of get into what's one of your wishes that you kind of wish that you could see in the world of wrestling come true this next year in 2017?
One of my things, I think, is to make Raw more like SmackDown. When I watch SmackDown every week, of course, Paul and I try to review it separately. The last couple weeks have been hard with work being rough right now and whatever, so we haven't been able to talk about it. But like this week's SmackDown was so good. Everything that happened on it mattered. Yes, having the one less hour makes a big difference because you don't have the time, you don't need to fill that extra time, which gets filled with cruiserweights and all that kind of stuff. And they're getting better with the cruiserweights because they do have the Cruiserweight 205 live show, and so they're understanding that what happens now needs to matter. a bit, but still, I still feel like sometimes we're just having matches to have matches. And that's the thing too. Then you get in there and Raw has this like terrible filler crap that doesn't need to be there at all. And that's why I think, you need to work a little bit harder to make sure that what you're doing with Raw, what's on Raw with those segments, leads up to something that matters, that's important. And I just cut out the damn filler. You don't need it.
Yeah, I agree. And, I think, for the most part, I think they try too hard to fill the show. And I get it. It's 3 hours. You've got to make sure you have content. But, man, I think SmackDown sometimes wishes they had a little extra time, because there are certain things that they really want to get over and they don't just have the time. So instead of using that filler, I think you're right. Following the SmackDown formula probably could do them a lot of service, but maybe that's why they have a separate brand. Maybe they're trying to give one group of people one thing and another group of people another. I don't know, but it's interesting. It really, really is. Let's talk, about something that I think could be really helpful and beneficial, and that is the fact that I really feel like WWE really needs to work on being more reality-based at times. And I'm not saying everything. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they need to be like, oh, this really happened every day in their life, but I'll use this example. I love on SmackDown where they did use, Renee Young and said the fact that she was sleeping with, Dean Ambrose. That's a real-life thing. People have heard about it. There's no secret there. So using that as a part of the story does not hurt to me. I think it's completely fine if they use that and if the people on the show are willing to do it, because of the fact that it was kind of a surprise. I was a little bit shocked that they even used it. I didn't think in a million years that they would be using something like that, because I thought it was very private, even though people knew about it. So I think things like that really help.
They're both on Total Divas this year. So they're assuming that people pretty much know at this point. Mm-hmm. And they're taking, and Miz and Maurice are also on Total Divas.
Yes.
So it could have possibly been a Total Divas segment, but I think they're using the fact that people know that they're on Total Divas this year. You should know that Renee and Dean are dating. If you don't, well, you know now. And also, not to mention, it really helps Miz as far as his character. He's a total freaking dick, and he just gets you more of a dick. And perhaps this is WWE opening that door to make Renee more into a character now too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree, and that's not a bad thing to do that. And hey, I mean, whatever works, and it's very popular with a lot of fans. So I think that's a good idea. So that's why I kind of think maybe if you slip in a little bit more of reality in what you're seeing with wrestling, I think it earns a little bit more credibility, and people say, "Oh, you're not calling us an idiot." Okay, well, cool. Now we feel like we, want to watch more.
Yeah, certainly. I think just having a little bit more of that reality, having a little bit of the, and especially now where all these guys have social media accounts and Instagrams and Twitters and all this stuff that you didn't have back in the Attitude Era or whatever. This is how you can make it 21st century related. You can have these things that kind of are like a work shoot, and you can transfer them into Raw and SmackDowns, and it's an easy way to get people to pay attention more. It's nothing, and it provides context. It provides a bit of heat to some of these feuds that sometimes feel totally lifeless. I love that idea. I just let them have a little bit of an edge. Wouldn't hurt you.
Mm-hmm. What is your next one, Sean? What do you think that they need to do?
Let's see. Sticking with the WWE theme here. I think another one is, I think you kind of have this here too, is yes, you brought 205 Live into existence. Yes, you're kind of working with them better on Raw, and the 205 Live is improving, but I just feel like you need to treat the Cruiserweights with respect. Make sure that what you're airing on Raw matters. that it ties into the show 205 Live. Don't just have throwaway matches on 205 Live. It's an hour. Make that hour mean something. Make sure that what you're having on that hour is important. Don't try to shove the same guy down our throats a million times on that show. Like, Arya Daivari, I think, has had more matches than almost anybody else on the Cruiserweights in a while. Like, just let that thing go. Focus on what you're trying to do and move forward with that. I mean, as much as we've mentioned that, yes, Cedric Alexander and Noam Dar's storyline is weird, we don't see it that often, like the two men fighting over the women. Yes, it's juvenile. Yes, it's very simple. And perhaps they could do something a bit more different with the Cruiserweights, but it gets Alicia Fox something to do, and perhaps you could get this into turning it, like you said, into more of a shade of reality there by going further.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. And, I'm going to change mine since we kind of shared this a little bit. So I'm actually going to come up with another wish since you kind of have this one. But I want to expound upon my original one was define the cruiserweights. And I think that's what you're talking about here. Give them that opportunity to showcase not only their talent, because they're definitely talented. They've got lots of skills in the ring, but give them opportunities to have storylines. Give them opportunities to show that they're real people. And make the audience care about who they are and teach people who they are. Don't just show video packages. The video packages are fine. But make us grow into really caring about these people. Because most people don't know about them. Even some of the regular casual fans that, pay more attention than others don't really know these guys. I mean, I don't know much about Noam Dar. I really don't. Paul is really well educated in a lot of these wrestlers because he's paid attention to the indie circuit over in the UK and around the world, and I just have never really done that. Just really never had the time. And so saying that, give me a reason to really care. And I think they're doing fine. They're getting it done when they're trying to showcase Noam Dar and guys like him, but really define it. Really spend some time on it. Make us care. Make 205 Live important. Make every minute that the cruiserweights are on TV something that's valuable. That way people will want to come back and people will actually don't look at those purple ropes and say, oh, okay, I can go to the bathroom. I don't think I'm going to miss much. Right. So I think it's very important, especially if you want this cruiserweight division to thrive and to live on. But since you kind of, used that one, I think I'm going to change my personal wish. I'll switch it to saying that I really wish WWE would not be afraid of using the good ideas and the good things that WCW had. And, I know we've heard it plenty of times, but War Games is something I think would be really cool to see, even if, they can't do it. I get it. I'm not going to cry about that. But something like I mention this every year, but I think Halloween Havoc was great. I think it's a great show for a pay-per-view, even if the pay-per-view is just called Halloween Havoc. I don't care. I think it's really cool, and I think with the history behind something like that, you have the footage. You can, showcase it. I just think it would be really cool to do, and I don't know why WWE's afraid to show it or whatever. I know Vince likes to have everything his idea, and it wasn't his pay-per-view, so he doesn't want to showcase it, but can't we grow up a little bit? Can't we just, use the things that work?
Halloween Havoc is such a great theme for October. Mm-hmm. It's right there in the name. It's not hard. People will understand it. Totally should get used.
Yeah. And there's other things. I won't go through a whole long list of WCW things, but that's just an example. And there's other things that WCW had.
Not just WCW. I think taking things from other shows and trying to see how you can apply that to the context of wrestling wouldn't be bad.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's making more compelling characters, whether it's how to make portray the action, the wrestling better, or just improving your backstage segments that are sometimes just hilariously awful. Mm-hmm. I think you always learn from not only having competition, from just watching other things and paying attention to other things.
Mm-hmm. No, very true. And so that's mine. That's the kind of something I really wish that they would rethink and maybe put into play. Sean, I mean, what else do you think? What other wish do you have here?
I kind of would like to see. I know I love Talking Smack, and I say this about how Talking Smack is a special thing because Daniel Bryan and Renee have this a good chemistry with each other, and also Daniel Bryan is a relatable guy, and you kind of understand him when he has the interviews with people. But I do think Raw would also benefit from having the Raw talk. Yes, that means you're adding. It's now a 3.5-hour show to watch every week, but I think when you see these SmackDown folks on Talking Smack, like, obviously it makes a difference that Daniel Bryan's there asking questions and that he's interested in whatever. Something that I think only if you had Mick Foley be there on Raw would it work. As far as, being there doing the Raw talk and all that. I don't think Booker T is good for getting in your face and saying things that perhaps to get you in trouble. But I think from just having the other perspective of knowing what to do and whatnot, I think Mick Foley would be better, and he has a better way of getting to the heart of the matter, like Daniel Bryan does. I think it would help sometimes get that character behind the wrestler that you don't always get to portray on Raw, finding out more about them and getting you to kind of identify with them. That's what you want with those characters.
No, I agree. And, Mick Foley would probably do fine, just kind of like Daniel Bryan does great on SmackDown Live. And, I think that the 3-hour show is, overwhelming, I think, already. And I think that's probably why they don't do a Talking Raw or whatever. But I think that, in the end, it's more content for your network. It's also something that people can watch on Tuesday. They don't have to watch on Monday night. They can always come back on Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon and watch it, or just during the week when they have time and get in depth and understand, what this Raw roster has to offer on talent. And, people feel like they're more connected. And I think that's what Talking Smack does so well. Is sometimes they're inside the box of, hey, this is everything in ring, and sometimes they're outside of the box where they're telling jokes, where they're goofing around, where goes back to my, lines of reality being blurred. They do that on that show too. And I'll just say this, the last Talking Smack I thought was going to be, I didn't care for it at first because I thought, Santa's going to be on, it's going to be silly. I don't want to waste my time. I am so glad I watched Talking Smack. It was hilarious. I loved Santa Claus with Shane McMahon.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. I mean, they really did a great job. And all the other things they did and the talent that they had on there, it was entertaining. It was educational. It had everything you wanted. And so Raw would benefit. I totally agree with you, Sean. I think that Raw would really benefit down the line if they did do that. But once again, I understand they're trying to make these shows different. Maybe that's why they don't.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. That makes sense as to, making SmackDown feel different with Talking Smack, and Raw not having it. Raw also has that extra hour that SmackDown doesn't, But just they have it sometimes after pay-per-views, and I think it kind of helps. It may help out to the TV as well. But I can understand why you're not doing it.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand that for sure. We have a couple more wishes to give out here. So another wish that, I kind of wish would happen would be, I really feel like that, honestly, they need to have less 8-man tags, 12-man tags, whatever they want to do. It's just, this gets terrible. And it's more about Raw than it is SmackDown. SmackDown does it sometimes too, and I hate it there too. But I just think that it becomes overwhelming. It seems like it's almost a weekly thing now for Raw to do these big multi-man tags. And I don't know. I
feel like they have to, though, to keep it from having just a bunch of singles matches or burning out your tag division that quickly or whatever, I think you're doing one of these allows you to have more people on the show at once, and it serves the purpose of kind of killing two birds with one stone. as far as, when you're trying to just get people on the show. So,
No, and I understand that. I mean, you definitely want to get your talent in front of people's eyes, but I'm just saying for me personally, sometimes they'll advertise it, and I'll start to say, oh, God, if it's the next segment, maybe I can watch the Monday Night Football game for at least 10 minutes, and I can flip back. And it sounds terrible, but it's the honest truth, and I find myself so disinterested with them, and I think that's a bad thing. And I think to myself, if I really enjoy wrestling, I'm a wrestling fan, why do I have that feeling that I don't want to watch it? And that's not a good thing. And I worry about people that maybe not having a fandom as I do, and them getting caught up in the Monday Night Football game, getting caught up into whatever other show that they decide to flip to, and forget, oh, that's right, I was watching Raw, because, they found it interesting. So that's my deal. That may be my personal pet peeve. Someone listening right now may say Gary's an idiot because I love these multi-man tags. They're my favorite part. I could do without the main event, but that's just not me.
Well, sometimes the main event is a tag or whatever.
That's true.
The thing is, it kind of just all depends on the context they're giving the match, or if it's all thrown together, whatever, I don't care. But if they give it a reason for sort of existing, I'm okay with it. Some of the best matches they've had are those 8-man tags or whatever. Just like you're right, though, a lot of times they aren't much anything to talk about.
Yeah, that's true. What else do you have here?
For me, I think I hope New Japan kind of starts lessening on the whole signing. It seems like almost every gaijin that kind of comes on the market, and I don't know if they've even considered Ryback or not, but it seems like almost every gaijin that comes on the market, you got to wind up signing them, or you got to do something with them. And I don't think you need that necessarily. I think maybe you should try to focus on getting these Japanese stars up to something and not feeling like, oh, well, we got to get a Cody Rhodes in there to be the leader of the Bullet Club. Did you really, really need him? I don't know. He's not going to be what Kenny Omega is. He's not going to be what AJ Styles was for them. It's cool for Cody Rhodes. I think it's going to be cool for his character to be a leader of the Bullet Club and be a heel and all that stuff. But he's not the first one. You had the Billy Gunn thing for the Tag League was fine. It was a fun little thing. But just, I really would just hope that kind of gets cut out going forward.
Yeah, and I understand that for sure. I kind of feel like sometimes that New Japan does this thing to just get more eyes on their product from the American side, and of course maybe from Europe and places like that who know about a guy like Cody Rhodes and follow him closely and love him, and so now they have to tune into New Japan to see what he's doing, and that of course makes New Japan money, whether it's through people ordering New Japan World or just by buying shows. So I get that, and that's probably why they're doing it. But I can see your point because there's so many great Japanese wrestlers that really, honestly, could fill in this gap that maybe they feel like they would need to put a gaijin in to maybe to get some more tickets.
Kenny Omega is great. I don't take anything from him, and obviously Michael Elgin as well. Just trying to find random ex-WWE guy to bring in. Just stop it.
Yeah, very true. I don't blame you at all. Something else that, I really wish would happen in 2017 was the fact that I just get so tired of watching SmackDown as, having to hear 4 guys fight to get time to talk. I just really wish it would go back down to 3. 3 guys, and I'm sorry, David Otunga, but, man, your lawyer skills could be used somewhere, so maybe use that. Or find something else. He's the weak link, and I just kind of wish they'd just go back to a 3-man team.
Well, Tom Phillips is kind of just there to read the ads and read things that they need him so that Morrow doesn't have to do it. But he doesn't even say anything during the matches. It was so weird. And Otunga just, he's so bad. he just says some random stupid comment, and you're like, okay, go do something else. And like, I just don't get it with him.
Can I just, instead of wishing, just to go back to it, can I wish we go back to it? Let's just do a 2-man team. Let's go old school. Let's say SmackDown goes
so
old school.
what is wrong with a 2-man team? Would that be so bad to have a 2-man team again? As now it has to be 3 at least. It's like, come on now. Why?
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. It's just a bummer, you know. Unlike this show, because this show is a 3-man team and it works amazingly, and we do fine, you know, with, you know, myself and Paul, or you and Paul have to do a show by yourselves, kind of like we're doing tonight. Yeah. You know, it sucks. It sucks without Paul, but Paul adds so much to our show, and all 3 of us that we make
Paul
up wrestling.
Paul just woke up and said that he has to work again at like 7 a.m. So I don't blame him at all.
Yeah, okay, so as long as he's happy, I felt so bad we had to do the show without him tonight. It's a bummer, but you know, once again, you know, 3 guys make up wrestling to the max, but SmackDown, it's not like that. They can add in other guys, switch it around. They can go to a 2-man team, and let Raw be the 3-man team. You know, I think JBL and Mauro Ranallo would do a great job together. I would love the banter between those two, focused between those two, and not spread apart with, of course, Otunga and Tom Phillips. So, I don't know. That's just one of the things I wish would happen. Is it going to happen? Probably not. What's probably going to happen is SmackDown's going to end up having Steve Corino being the 5th member of the announced team. So,
yeah, very true. The last one for me would be for TNA to close ranks a little bit, and they did this during Total Nonstop Deletion, but they seemingly can't help themselves sometimes on their regular TV. TNA, cut the fluff out. Like, do you really need more segments with Mahabali Shera and Al Snow and the stupid Bastille, whatever the hell? Like, you don't. Just don't. They're bad. They're not doing anything for your product. You're wasting money. I mean, I feel like it's totally harsh or whatever, but just, unnecessary. And then, like, when they're on for the 15, 20 minutes they're on, or even longer, if it's something not relating to those guys, it just makes my head spin.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And it goes back to what we were just talking about the fact that don't put anything on that's going to make people tune out. You know, and I get it. You have a project and you're working on this project, but, you know, I really feel like you've got to have better writing if you have a project. You can't just allow people to act goofy, be silly, stupid, because Mahabali Shera just... They brought him out in his debut. He does nothing. But his debut, though, wasn't so bad because you kind of said, okay, this guy, he's a young Indian star. He looks powerful. Maybe he can actually be the one Indian star that gets over. And then they come out, and then it's like, hey, we want you to be a comedian. And you're like thinking, look at the size of that guy. He doesn't need to be a comedian. Heck, don't even make him talk. Just let him fight. You know, just let him get out there and showcase what he can do. And maybe he's not that great, but he's okay. And it just...
Especially now that you have that Grand Championship thing.
Yeah.
Just anybody could be in that.
Exactly. So I think you're right. They got to cut the fluff on that stuff, especially if they want their show to continue on and do bigger, better things. They just got to. One last thing I think for myself would be make Bray Wyatt great again. And I'm not talking about the Darren Young gimmick. And
at least Bray was great at one point.
Yeah, exactly.
Darren Young, that was never the case for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, poor Darren. But no, I mean, I appreciate what WWE's doing right now. What SmackDown Live has to offer with the Wyatt family is okay. I mean, Luke Harper, Randy Orton being his lackeys, doing their thing, it works. It's fine. It's not terrible. He's a tag team champion right now. At least he's holding gold. But for me, I honestly could care less if Bray Wyatt ever held a world title around his waist. I don't need that. What I need is Bray Wyatt being creepy. I need Bray Wyatt being strong. I need Bray Wyatt being the guy that when people, hear that music or, the lights go out, they're terrified. That's what I want. We need a new Undertaker. Undertaker is so ancient, his arms are about to fall off. So guess what? You got one in your roster, make him that. Let him do it. He can do it. He's great at it. You don't have to have him be the feature. He doesn't need to be in the main event unless you need him to be. So I just think that they can do so much with this guy. He's not too far away from it if they just allow it to happen. But I get worried year by year that every year he gets exposed because they allow him to be exposed and allow him to lose too many times.
Yeah, totally. Right now they're doing good things with him. He's tag team champion with Randy Orton. They've really done well with his storyline. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, I can see the writing on the wall already.
But this is the first time that we've really had any kind of faith in what they've been doing with Bray Wyatt. Like before then, like you said, it was just, okay, Bray Wyatt comes out, he talks a bunch of whatever, and then he loses. It's like, okay, why do I need to get behind or care about anything that he does? And you do need to decide where you're going with him, either face or heel, and you go with it and just see what you can get, because you really need to rehab the character.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. And, like I said, it's my own paranoia, but so far they have not proven to have a good track record with Bray Wyatt. So let's just make him great again and just leave him alone. I'm not asking for him to be a world champion. Heck, I'm not even asking for him to be an intercontinental champion. I just need Bray Wyatt to be Bray Wyatt. It's all I need. Intimidating force that doesn't have to be, around any major part of the show. Just be that guy that people are terrified of and make us care. So, but yeah, that's my Christmas wish list. And Sean, it sounds like you have a great list there too. I can't wait for Paul to give his Christmas wish list. It's going to be a lot of fun to kind of hear what he wants for New Year's. And of course, he'll be after Christmas, so he may call it his New Year's wish list, whatever he wants to call it. But Paul will probably be giving that to us on Tuesday morning. Check out that show. That'll be the first episode of part 1 of 227. But, before we get out of here, we do have something to do, and that is crown a Superstar of the Week. That's right. We're going to do it right after this.
Yeah.
Superstar of the Week.
Alrighty. Well, let's do this thing, Sean. Let's go ahead and kind of break down who we think deserves to be Superstar of the Week. And we are going to start out, though, guys. We're going to give a single point to a wrestler that we kind of feel like deserves this opportunity. And that is, of course, none other than Bobby Roode.
Yeah, Bobby Roode getting the 1-pointer here for being a number 1 contender for the NXT Championship after a very good match, beating 3 very good contenders. Totally, and he probably would be higher too if it wasn't for the championships and championship holders that are above him here.
Definitely. He had, once again, like you said, had a great match, and I think that point is well deserved. If it wasn't for some other major matches on this long list of different superstars, I think we would have him higher. We got 2 points going to AJ Styles, though, Sean.
Yeah, AJ Styles just absolutely made mincemeat of Mr. James Ellsworth and was awesome on SmackDown, so totally defending his WWE Championship with no problem whatsoever. Totally love that. Just love that.
With 3 points, we have Rich Swann.
Rich Swann, of course, retaining his Cruiserweight Championship. Yeah, Neville came and attacked him afterwards, but he still did that, and it was a good match as well.
And with 4 points, we got Cesaro and Sheamus.
Cesaro and Sheamus finally becoming tag team champions after all this time. They get the new belts on Raw even. That they had possibly the second best match on the show. Some think it's the best match. Love that match with New Day, so totally deserve it here.
And with 5 points and our superstar of the week, we have Charlotte.
Charlotte once again keeping that streak alive on pay-per-view. Some don't like that 2-second tap out by Sasha or whatever, but I thought it added to the story. Then Charlotte wins. Another great match. Should have been the main event, honestly, in my opinion. And yeah, Charlotte again getting that title. This time they finally moved on, thankfully.
And there you go, guys and gals. We have our crowned superstar of the week, Charlotte. Okay. Well, that pretty much concludes all our stuff for this show. We've had a lot of fun, a lot of great topics to talk about. But, of course, sadly, we have to move on, and we will be catching everybody next week with episode 227, part 1 and part 2. But, there's also a lot of other things that we need to kind of let you guys know about. So just to give you a heads up, for this show, we have a Raw, a SmackDown Live review, a 205 Live review, and coming an NXT review show. So we've got 4 different shows for you guys, and those are going to be great. Those are just, specifically for those shows. That way it's a quick lunch break for you guys, so you can just listen to it quickly, not have to battle through, a whole giant show. And so that's exciting, and I want everybody to go check those shows out if you haven't already. Of course, you can find those on the W2M Network, and of course on W2Mnet.com. Is there anything else, Sean, that we need to share with the people tonight?
Yeah, make sure you check back next week for our 2016 awards show. Of course, we'll be talking about the NXT 2-hour specials. There will be a Wrestle Kingdom 11 preview on one of those shows as well. And make sure you go check out all the other shows on the WTM Network. Video Games to the Max, Fantasy Return, where we debate and argue and everything about our top 25 games. That will then go out in 5 separate articles over the next week, with blurbs and everything else to make it look pretty. So that's cool. Definitely for you to go check out. Of course, check out the Football to the Max show and everything. And yeah, enjoy your Christmas. And we'll be back on the Monday night, Tuesday morning. Enjoy the football, the other football, of course, with Boxing Day on Monday, and all that.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of great stuff. And, everyone, please be safe. I mean, I know this is the holiday season. You want to, relax and, of course, maybe take in a few beverages and things like that. But, with that comes a lot of danger with people on the road, maybe choosing to drive drunk or, impaired of some sort. So please be very careful. Do the right thing. Have a great holiday. Enjoy your family and friends. We're going to try to do the same. We definitely, once again, miss Paul in this show, but we're all going to go and enjoy our Christmas break, and we will be back next week. Don't forget, Tuesday morning in your dock will be this show, along with some other great ones. You don't want to miss them. Until then, guys, we appreciate you. Have a Merry, Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. See you guys.
Later, everybody.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.